All right, test 1 2 1 2 for all of our students here. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. I think we're good to go now. That was, I think, across the board. Actually, I had my mic muted on my headset. Wearing my big fat headset right now, although you can't see me. Great to see John, Charles, Kathleen, all of us inside our live trading room. That was across the board, including those of us on social. So hopefully, I didn't lose many of us just before. Just a couple minutes, a couple seconds, and we are good now. Well, I'll repeat what I was just saying to myself a second ago, at least. But you know, if it's not the market just giving and giving and giving, it's select equities, select stocks that are coming off of various news or earnings. So AFRM on the screen right now to begin. Stock is up like nearly 20% right now. Listen, this was actually not the easiest trade today. Looking at Bookmap, looking at level 4, there was a lot of funny business on this trade in particular at first. It broke above this iceberg and eventually moved up a little bit higher later on, but then the same pattern happened just before here. So I was pretty reluctant on calling this out to our students like Kathleen, John, Grant inside our live trading room until I ended up seeing two things happen. Pretty fortunate that this ended up working out the way it did. But hey, a firm ended up breaking over this iceberg order. No new orders on the ask popped up. And then on top of that, as it was kind of holding here, this huge 162,000 share iceberg popped up on the bid. Just likely right over $20.50, 2052. And with saying that, that's where I made my call out inside our live trading room, just in the chat board before I was writing, AFRM finally looking decent. I wrote that at 2:16 Eastern. Well, it was right after this iceberg popped up. So it's moved on up higher since, up towards and testing 21 right now. So yeah, definitely I'm going to add this to our watch list here, AFRM. Had a frog in my throat since like 10 a.m. Been on the mic since 9:30, so long day of talking. But with that said, I'll try and at least sound better for right now. But AFRM definitely will add to our watch list. SoFi, little sister stock to it, right? It is pushing back on up pretty nicely. I called that out also just before, just the fact that it was inching off of 8, and it's still been holding here pretty well since 2. So I don't mind adding SoFi to our watch list just right now with the Affirm trade. Again, obviously we've had our eye on the stock market the whole day. The SPY, still pretty close to the highs, over 430 for the time being. And with that, that's where I can just jump back and say, like, hey, trades like AMD from yesterday, well, we followed once again in the morning, not looking as good right now, but from the morning session, great slingshot down towards 106, popping up towards 109.50. We had Roku coming off earnings today too. That was an absolute machine. Shopify, same deal. So all of these companies that were reporting news, earnings, different sorts of events happening recently, they ended up making a stronger move up as thankfully the market had a nice push with it all together. So hey, SoFi Affirm will definitely put on our list. Now I said before I started this meeting, like, hey, there's definitely going to be 2 or 3 stocks that a lot of us should realize I'm going to put on our watch list. AFRM, Affirm, was one of those 2 or 3. The other 2, or one that we were thinking about, depending on how they look right now, Palantir, another stock off earnings once again today, just popped up early this morning and ran. And then Mara, MARA, which is looking really strong right now, still holding pretty well. So actually, I'm going to add Mara. PLTR probably will at the end. Just want to see what else is out there first. And actually, as we see what's out there coming up on the gainer side, I want to jump to a stock here. VSME stock is up 40% today, right? Actually, I'm happy I see this up right now. I love turning over to this stock in particular because it's a really good educational lesson. So it looks interesting right now. It's kind of at the highs. You folks recall last time we traded the stock, VSME, Ryan, John, Kathleen, Charles, you folks recall the last time that we traded this? Because if you look at the daily chart, all you see is what you get. Meaning this is a pretty new IPO. So actually, this is really all of the daily history that we have on VSME. So that means like basically this day, this big red candle. Let me drag back. I think I have the chance to do that here. I prepped up for this meeting. So VSME, I remember this like the back of my hand because I avoided calamity by the skin of my teeth. So with that, it broke out over 8, and it was pent up under 8, and hey, once it broke over that level on this candle, I jumped in at like 801, 802. It was like incredible entry. I felt popped up 60 cents instantly. I mean, this candle hit a high of 864. Well, obviously you see what I see. So it came back down, and I knew right away from experience, from seeing this play out over and over and over again, you know what's happening, right? So what goes up does come back down, and this just crashed. I mean, again, it was only 5 days off its IPO, so as much as there was little historical resistance here, there was very little historical support. So seemingly once it broke below 350, that was a wrap. This thing was, I mean, it was already a wrap from 8, but you know what I mean? I mean, looking at the daily chart afterwards, this thing just only continued to get clobbered. Given the drop off, is it possible for us to see more on this move and a little bit more of a recovery, maybe up to like a 150, maybe up even? Yeah, it's possible, right? But if we don't get what we want here, then obviously this is likely to make a sharp drop, even with the liquidity it has. It doesn't have bad liquidity right now. So, I'll add VSME. I like the other trades more first, like SoFi, Affirm, Mara, but this one will make the cut. Jeez, take your eyes off a stock for a little while. Lemonade, even though it gapped up today, this thing took a beating over the last year plus. So this was also an IPO that I remember we traded back then, and obviously, like I just said, took a huge hit over time. You can see here, hell yeah, from 180 all the way down to below 12. And obviously, I'm assuming earnings is the news out on this stock today, but had a nice pop earlier, just definitely more exhausted at this point right now. One of our new members, Arthur, actually mentioned, great comment from him. At the time, at least earlier, he wrote that he wasn't trading anything, but more or less his comment here that I liked was the market has already done its normal move. It's all normal average daily range for the day is what he meant. So, could we see higher on a few of these stocks? Perhaps. For something like Lemonade that we're not really as, really is familiar to follow the volume, I feel like there could be better trades. That's where I'll kind of be more picky and choosy. So, all right, so we keep it moving. Kind of similar to VSME, we got this AWRE stock, kind of choppy and, I guess close to the highs, but don't have a great need to really follow it. KOD, same deal there. Jax Pacific, I think that's like a video game company. Roku. So there we go. Once again, Roku. So nice pop from earlier this morning. Once again, I mean, definitely over exceeded anyone's expectations with their earnings. Got close to 80. Wouldn't shock me if 80 gets touched tomorrow with options expiration for the week. But for right now, a pass. Seemed to be said probably on a lot of these. I just got to do my job, go from top to bottom here, see if there's anything, looking strong, looking like a nice move up right now. If there's anything that we traded from earlier today that is showing decent strength, at least the ones that we haven't really touched upon yet. I know I showed Shopify a moment ago, perhaps, but it's still making higher lows, right? So is there still a shot for this to try and break even higher? It looks better compared to some of the others we've gone through. So you know what? I don't mind adding this for right now, putting it back on our list. Beyond Meat, BYND, as much as I don't like the company and the concept. Eventually, we had said this previously, don't hold your breath waiting for it. Look at what happened over the summer. But, eventually the stock will make a nice day trade once again, a nice little short squeeze for whatever reason. So it's up 20% now. I actually didn't really follow this or call it out from earlier. This one still has some potential to it. Similar to Shop, hopefully there's more momentum here heading into the close, final 30 minutes. We'll add this. What else we got? Penn National Gaming coming off their partnership with ESPN recently, dumping Barstool Sports for ESPN with their casinos, or sports books rather, I should say. But, also kind of making a pretty strong move here. I don't mind it. Now, I might have to yank my own leash now and kind of say, well, if everything else kind of looks like that, then we can't have like a 20, 30 stock watch list, right? Hey, Apple's coming out with earnings later today. DraftKings is coming out with earnings later today. That's why I wanted to turn over to this one. It actually looks pretty good, really strong. Now, hey, for anyone listening to this afternoon meeting here, perhaps on Twitter or YouTube, I love DraftKings. It's not just because I'm a degenerate sports gambler. I am not. I learned my lesson over the last year and a half. I lost like 90% of the bets I take. So unless if it's like boxing or UFC, I'm not really a sports gambler, folks. Hate to break it to you. I'm going to put a prop bet probably on my Butler Bulldogs to win the national championship. A very stupid, ridiculous $5 bet. But other than that, I don't sports bet. What I realize, though, is that a lot of folks do. And we just came off the MLB season, World Series. My apologies, Alex Poe inside our live trading room, Diamondbacks fan. My apologies. We are in NFL season mid-season form, right? So that right there, takes precedence. UFC is huge with sports betting. So, as much as people may not be interested in them here in this meeting, trading room, they have been emerging over the last 5 years with sports gambling. It is a big business. So obviously DraftKings has took off since the beginning of this year, nearly 3x, and they have earnings after bell. So you know what? I don't mind slipping them on our list too. I'm actually going to move Penn National Gaming to the side list for right now. I like DraftKings even a little more. I think there's going to be more eyes on them heading into the final 30 here. Carvana moving back on up again. They posted earnings also from this morning, and they're breaking a new high as I'm talking. It's hard to ignore this type of trade. All right. So we got 9 stocks already. Now, hey, the market's moving upward. We know at least that we're on the right side of direction for right now. So I don't think I'm going to find too many stocks on our losers list here. So if we top off at 9 stocks, that ain't bad at all, right, Sean? He says that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect, actually. So we'll come back if there's anything else looking strong on the gainers side. Got to make sure I do my due diligence. Obviously, looking at this stock, Rely, nice downtrend. Coming up, bad news, I'm sure, maybe earnings, but at this stage right now, if it had more volume, I'd be definitely more interested. I like the trend, really good trend, but let's see if there's anything better as a short. Otherwise, that's fine by me. All right, I got to just kind of skim down the rest of these here. I mean, got a lot actually that's down percentage-wise, but they're probably all really cheap. If I'm going to even do this, let me even tighten up this price range here, at least raising the minimum. Yeah, that definitely cuts it down a lot. That's for sure. Got a bunch of these inverse ETFs on the loser side. SOX, TZA, SRTY, FOS, all those are ETFs we could not care any less about right now. And really anything else here, I don't see like a familiar name on the losers list here, and that's expected. That's fine. So, hey, for John, Mike C, Bill, Roger, Brian, I was going to ask where the ladies at. We got Kathleen repping us right now for the ladies. We got a few more of us, though. Leda, Ravina, and a few more of us on top. But, hey, let me know if there's anything else that are looking good, any other stocks that are moving on up, going with the market here before we bid adieu. About IBRX, this one popped up on my Benzinga scan once again. Can you believe this? I mean, technically, history is repeating itself, right? I mean, not just on the pump up that we had back from April, May time, but this was also a pretty similar squeeze where it was consecutive green days in a row. Now, that I wasn't necessarily expecting on this pump here for IBRX, but what a move. There we go, Wendy. There we go. I see Wendy in our chat board right now. All right, so, hey, IBRX, going to add to our watch list. How could we not? It's once again moving up higher, breaking above the high that we had back from Tuesday this week. So I like that. From Wendy, Riot, right? That's going with Mara. So unless if Riot's making a better move than Mara, it's like pretty similar. Hey, if you specifically trade Riot, then it's a great stock to follow, right? If I put that on the list, maybe we have to put every crypto on the list there. And honestly, CLSK might be the best one actually because it's cheaper, and it I think is making a bigger move percentage-wise. So if I were to add one of the others on top, put a little extra spotlight on it, it'd be the CLSK. But they're all tradable. If you're in Riot already, you're looking great. If you're in Coinbase already, you're looking great probably. Mara, we called out off of 950 just before 2 o'clock, and it's been pushing up great for us since. So that's where I was personally harping on it a little bit there, but hey, there's going to be a lot that I don't put on the list, but that I'll say is 100,000% tradable. Bill, if you're already in from the morning session on Uber, I'm sure that you're doing pretty good. A little slow now for $46, right? I mean, perhaps you could say the same for Shopify. Is a $60 stock, right? This is up a little bit more, perhaps more eyes on it given the earnings from today, but there we go. Bill says and confirms he's still in from the open. There we go. Rune Bill on there. John says Starbucks, another one from earnings, right? Yeah. Yeah, this isn't really at the highs though, so this one definitely pass on for right now. I'm rooting at anyone on though, but if there's a stock at the high and I'm not putting it on the list, and if it has good volume, most importantly, then it's a tradable stock, right? I mean, we can only put so many on our watch list here. Maybe something like Plug I saw get called out earlier, right? It's at the highs. That definitely is tradable, but let's try and prioritize here. Give us the best opportunity to work with here heading into the close. So I think for right now, we'll call it. We'll call it, folks. Actually, jump back to the 2 I said we'd go back to. PLTR, rounding off now, not looking as good, unfortunately. So we'll scrap PLTR for the time being. And then Penn, a little slow. I like DraftKings more. So I'm going to pass on both of those for the time being, but we got a decent list here, folks. So, hey, let's start and stick with what we got, right? If there's a stock that you're already in that's, on our side list, then, just stick with it to yourself. And, once you get out, post the profit, definitely let us know how you do on it. But, hey, once Rich jumps on the mic in about 13, 14 from now, if there's anything else looking good that's not on our watch list, that's where we'll look to focus on it. But let's start and stick with that list right there, folks. So I'm going to repolish that watch list inside our live trading room, make it an official post inside our room there. But hey, best of luck trading, and we'll be back here at least on social media tomorrow morning. Hey, if you haven't subscribed yet to our YouTube, Twitter feeds just yet, be a friend, tell a friend at Cyber Trading U. Look to make sure to follow us and subscribe to our notifications when we're going live for our morning and afternoon streams, and then our workshops in between. All right, folks. But otherwise, take care.